us to the story I'm about to share. Today, as Castro's ashes are being laid, I can share the entire story and things I have not shared before to complete what I did share. The real story of history is his story. Behind history is the hand of God. Above history is the sovereignty of God. At times, he gives us glimpses of his sovereignty over history. The story I'm going to tell you has never fully been told. It concerns the hand of God behind world events. Begins in the year 1999. It was that year I was asked to come over to a house in New Jersey for a secret meeting. There I met a man from Cuba who said Fidel Castro has agreed to open up the island for 1 month for an evangelical celebration. The first time since the revolution, to show the world that he had allowed religious freedom. And the man, the Cuban minister, spoke of an evil king of Israel who at the end of his life did good. He said, we want you to come over and open it up with the sounding of the shofar. I prayed and said yes. It's called the Evangelical celebration of Cuba, the first such public gathering in the squares of Cuba since Castro took over. It was to begin in the east of the island and then move westward to culminate in Revolutionary Square. In many ways, it was paralleling the march of Fidel Castro and his movement from the east to westward to the revolution, which he just came in reverse when they now took him from Havana, his remains, to the east where the revolution began. Matthew 2, verse 1, if you turn to it. After Jesus, Yeshua, was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem saying, "Where is he who's been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east. We have come to worship him." 1 week before leaving for Cuba, a man from Cuba appeared at our service, wanted to speak to me, a pastor. He had been tortured in the prisons of Castro, or he had been in prison for his faith. I don't believe he knew we were going to Cuba when he came. But he began to speak to us prophetically. He said, "You will go to Cuba as the Magi, bearing gifts, and you will enter the place where others could not enter. You will enter the palace of the king." I prayed as what I should share to the people of Cuba. What came to me immediately was the message of the Jubilee. Leviticus 25, you can turn to it or you can just listen. Verse 8, count off 7 sevens of years, 7 times 7 years, so that 7 sevens of years amount to a period of 49 years. Then have the trumpet sounded everywhere on the 10th day of the 7th month on the Day of Atonement. Sound the trumpet throughout the land. Consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you is to return to your family's property and to your clan, your family. The 50th year shall be a jubilee. Do not sow, reap what grows of itself, harvested, untended vines, for it is a jubilee. It is to be holy for you. In this year of jubilee, everyone is to return to their own property. The Jubilee concerns those who lost their land, lost their family possession, lost their inheritance, and their freedom. That was Cuba. In 1959, Cuba was filled with people who lost their land, their family's possession, their inheritance, their family, and their freedom. I would go to Cuba proclaiming the Jubilee, the power of God for freedom to set free those in bondage and bring restoration. The message was spiritual, but you could take the message in other ways. And in many ways, it was a dangerous message to proclaim, to go there and preach anything that sounded like freedom, restoration, and liberty. But I was also led to bring something for Fidel Castro. Not that there was any guarantee of ever meeting him or seeing him or getting it to him, but if the Lord opened the door, 3 things. 1 was a Bible in Spanish, 2 was a letter, and 3 was a shofar, the Trumpet of Jubilee, the vessel that in biblical times proclaims freedom throughout the land. I came with several people from Beth Israel. When we landed in Cuba, we had to pass through an inspection. The Cuban police were going through everything in our luggage. The one thing that held us up was the Jubilee trumpet. They didn't know what it was, and they found it suspicious. They saw it as if it was a weapon. They held it up, passed it back and forth. We were held up. We would not go through. They looked at each other. Finally, I decided to approach them. I took the shofar and showed them how it worked. And there in the station, I sounded it. They looked stunned, but they let us go. Said, wow, the trumpet works. I remember we were told not to attract crowds, and once we were in a Cuban store. When I came out, I was told I saw a crowd had gathered around our van. Someone had spotted the shofar in the van, and a large crowd was around it, and they wanted me to blow it. I wasn't sure if I should, but I did. At that moment, one of the men in the crowd starts jumping up and down and screaming. And we said, what happened? They said, the man is deaf, but he heard the sound of the shofar. In the following weeks, we went to minister throughout the churches of Cuba. Sometimes the churches were in barns. Sometimes at a bus stop was the church. Many times it had 3 walls, not 4 or 2. But every one of them was overflowing. In the midst of persecution, something had been born. Revival.
To find out how you can receive more of Jonathan's teachings, to receive special free gifts, or get in touch, go to hopeoftheworld.org or call toll-free 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821. You can also get more at Jonathan Cahn's Facebook page or write us direct at Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA. Hope of the World is dedicated to the goal of spreading God's Word and salvation to every land and people. We do this by spreading the word throughout the world and sponsoring compassion projects to the most poor and needy around the earth. To get in touch or have a part in God's work, just write to Hope of the World, Box 1111, Lodi, New Jersey 07644, USA. Or go to hopeoftheworld.org or call 1-800-YESHUA-1. That's 1-800-937-4821.